Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 7. In this video, we will be talking about list comprehensions. So, you might be thinking that this also has to do with the list that we were talking about in our previous videos. It has something to do with it, but it's not completely dealing with lists by itself. So, it has to do with iteration and so on and so forth, and it saves as a list. Um, But yeah, we'll get into that as we go through this video. So let's start off by going back to what we did with our append and uh, our other functions that we did with lists. So let's create our list one like we did last time, and then put in our bunch of random numbers that we had 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, whatever numbers that you feel that you like, and like we did in the last video, we'll also make an empty list so that we can append our values. We're going to do the same thing that we did last time. We're going to find all the even numbers that are in this list. So how we do that for number, I'm going to say number instead of element this time. You can title it whatever you want. It's just the temporary variable that you will be saving your iterations through. For number in list 1, if number modulus 2 equal to 0, then empty dot append number, right? So it will append that number, that even value, into our empty list. And else, you don't have to give an else statement. You can leave that blank. You don't need to, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to say else pass. So pass does nothing. It just won't do anything. Um, and after that, I'm going to print out our empty list. Okay, now if I were to run this, give it a couple of seconds for it to load up. If I were to run this, it will give me the even numbers in order of this list. So it'd be 8 and 2. And there we go. We are presented with 8 and 2. So what if I told you that you could have wrote all of this in 2 lines? That's basically what list comprehensions does. It basically simplifies your code and makes it easier. I'm going to comment all of this out and steal this list one thing. Um, Start it out over here. Just to make it easier, I'm going to keep the for loop and if loop here so that it's easier to understand. Now, a list comprehension is in the format of a list and it can iterate through, it can do the same exact thing as what we did here with the for and if um, functions, or the for loop and then the if function, but by saving it in a list. So we're just going to call list final. You can call it whatever you want once again, and then open up our cube brackets to show that it's a list. And then now the first thing that you have to do is type in your output. What do you want the list to have an output of? And in this case, we wanted the list to have an output of number, right? Because that's why we appended it to our old list. So that's what we're looking for. We want number back. So we're basically working backwards in this case. So if it helps, write out the um, for loop with the if function already in there, and then you can come back and then do the list comprehension and change that up. But once you get practice, you will be able to um, create these list comprehensions without having to actually think through that. So um, practice this, and it will actually save you a lot of time. So number, and then you give your for function. So for number in list one. So basically all I did here was just type out for number in list one after the output that you wanted, number for number in list one. And then now you give the if function. If number modulus 2 is 0. So all you're doing here is you're taking your for function or your for loop and your if function and then putting it into one thing. And now if I were to print out final, which is a list, like as you can see right here, you should get 8 and 2. There we go. We got 8 and 2. Sorry about that. It took a couple seconds to load up there. But that is the power of list comprehensions. You didn't have to actually create the empty list. You didn't have to append. So it just makes it easier for the program to understand that, hey, you're just wanting this number. You're just wanting the even numbers because you told me you wanted number, and then you gave your for loop, and then you gave me your if statement.